Is it starting to happen? It is. I'll give you an industrial example and a far more interesting personal example. This is when I met these guys first, Dyke & McQuay. I don't know if it registers with any of you, the largest company I'd never heard of. About $16 billion. They're the biggest air conditioning, basically, company on the planet. So they shove stuff on the roof of at least one person in. They put a thing on your roof. You see a picture of it there on the left. And its purpose, so it's a thing. It's a physical thing. It's on a screen. And its purpose is pretty straightforward. Its job is to get the temperature in this room to the level you set and get the humidity to the level you set. So what it does is fairly straightforward. Add or remove moisture, add or remove heat. So it's a thing and it's intelligent. It's as intelligent as it needs to be to add or remove heat, add or remove moisture, and get it into the room. So fairly typical thing. What Kevin and the guys in Daikin woke up to was they looked at their business model and said, we need to drive our bottom line down, don't we all? And we want to drive our top line up. And so my first conversation with Kevin was that was the level of complexity. He doesn't want to talk about product details, software stacks, programming environments, business models, beyond the, I've got to find a way to drive the cost of running my air conditioning systems down. And the way it works is Bror will buy a air conditioning unit A, and John will buy an air conditioning unit A on the same day. And their maintenance model is that they'll run a truck. They'll roll a truck to Bror on the first of the month, and they run a truck to John on the second of the month. It turns out, as those of you who know these guys, that Bror's away at the weekends and switches the system off and leaves the limits wide and lives in a nice temperate climate, whereas John, the sun is on all the time, the parties are rolling, his particular AC unit is exercised kind of hard. They don't need the same truck rolls. When they arrive at Bror's property, it's yet another wasted trip because there's nothing to be done. And when they arrive at John's property, it turns out they're on the verge again of an irritated customer who is going to call to say it's problematic, and the major parts that are failing, they don't have with them. So that was their key motivation. I've got to find a way of doing this differently. So what was the answer? The answer is to plug some intelligence into that system. Just listen to the system and connect it to a cloud service. So it's, in their case, they simply, in their simplest setup, they simply listen to the torque on a motor. And when that torque reaches a yellow limit, they know they need to roll a truck sometime in the next week. And if it's in a red limit, they need to get somebody out there now. And if it's running in green territory, like Bror's always is, leave it alone. Simple bottom line opportunity. You can look at anything around the planet and you can make the same argument. There's a bottom line opportunity. What was interesting with Kevin and Co. was they then, as they looked at embedding intelligence into the thing, they realized that there's an upside opportunity. If they could listen into that property and know that, that Patrick's out from Friday at 5 till Monday at 8 a.m., and it turns out they are 40% of typical energy use in a building that they reside in, 40% of a typical building. So if they knew a little bit about the building and could start managing, within agreed limits, how they control the temperature in there, they could offer a service to reduce your energy bill by up to 40%. And so now that's what they're doing. They lead a little bit more intelligence. They start to offer top line as well as bottom line opportunity. So that's one story of a thing, and there's no thing that you can imagine, a fancy rat trap to a spacecraft where embedding intelligence in it isn't a smart thing to do. This one, Penny, is a far more interesting character. I've put a link on there if you want to go see her invention. She wanted a smart cat flap. This is her smart cat flap. So what you see on here is her, it's a 3D printed casing, and it's a bunch of very cost-effective open source electronics, that green stuff and a bunch of wires sitting around there. And what she set up with her cat flap is that she's got an RFID tag on her cat. And when the cat arrives, it decides if it's her cat or not, and then opens it. And when the cat goes in or out, the cat is, well, I should probably say the cat flap is on the tweetosphere. Anne talked about the tweetosphere earlier. The cat flap announces to the tweetosphere that the cat has arrived or left from the property. A photograph is snapped, and that's dumped to the cat's Facebook account. There are people who have wired their plants up to say, I am now thirsty, and if you can't get an automated watering system in place, then you're going to need to call past me pretty soon and put some water in here. Again, they leverage the tweetosphere to communicate with their owners that they need something here. The ideas are endless, and the reality is that the big business model, the early models of innovation that required a Daikin McQuay with $13 billion in the bank to deliver on innovation, they're important and will continue to be. But the really important innovation and the people we really need to allow to have a small energy barrier to a product and then a small energy barrier to a market are the pennies. We buy that? So this revolution, we missed it. We missed the tipping point in this country called the screen, the digital, the information technology revolution. We rolled along, we did okay. But the first movers got the primary advantage. And there's an opportunity here for us to step up as the digital learnings get applied to the world of things and make an impact there. So that's my core ask of us, is let's find a way to take all of the smartness we have in this room and all of the processes we described earlier and all the frustrations we have about how to access these things and apply them in a meaningful way to allow every one of us to have low energy barriers on each of those two steps. And then we'll be better off and the planet will be a better place. This is, on the left-hand side, are examples of these Lego building blocks in electronics. Arduino, an extraordinary company founded by Massimo Banzi, I don't know, a decade ago now, less, and has delivered many copies, including out of Intel recently and Raspberry Pi and the likes, but the original movers on making electronics Lego was Arduino. It really is, you can plug these things in and make stuff go. I sat with a bunch of kids yesterday who, armed with little bits of foam, black tape, and bottle tops, used one of these boards to create and drive a vehicle. It's magical to watch low energy barriers between idea and execution and market. On the right-hand side, as you look at it, some of you, hopefully many of you, have one of those things on the top right. It's a 3D printer. If you don't, get one, or go find somebody who does. They're $1,000 at this stage. And what they do is allow you to build things. So when you wanted to get those toy soldiers that I grew up in, and when I listened over the last several years to the fact that all manufacturing is going to disappear, it goes to those huge manufacturing houses where the only thing that matters is the wage structure. It's nonsense, and it's changing. And it's changing in a deeply fundamental manner with competencies and capabilities like 3D printer. And that bottom right is a 3D printed clothing. It's, again, your imagination limits what's possible. So back to my core point here. We're born innovators. We know that from being kids, at least. We've got to learn how to turn innovation into products in a low energy manner, as has happened in IT. We've got to learn how to bring those products to market with a low energy barrier. And if we do that, everything's good.